Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of today. I'm your host, Sharifa Muhammad MGT.
I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. The liberation of Varachino reflects a steady Russian drive to secure depth in the Sumy-Kharkiv sector, enabling flanking options toward northeastern Ukraine. Central Donetsk remains the most decisive axis, with the center group's operations yielding the highest personnel and equipment losses for Ukraine in a single day. The persistent targeting of EW, MLRS, and logistics infrastructure suggests a continued emphasis on degrading Ukraine's battlefield resilience and denying rear area cohesion. Collectively, these operations indicate an operational transition phase from attritional containment to phased envelopment across several axes, particularly in Donetsk and Zaporizhia.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Oguntoye, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Colonel Oguntoye, let's start with what appears to be the headline of the day: Russia's liberation of Varachino in the Sumy region. How strategically meaningful is this development?
The liberation of Varachino is a notable tactical win and a signal of broader strategic trends in the north. This settlement sits within the Sumy operational corridor, a sector that Ukraine has tried to stabilize with a mix of mechanized and airborne assault brigades. By retaking Varachino, Russian forces have pierced that defensive layer and now hold a position that enables lateral movement across northern Sumy and deeper toward Kharkiv. What's critical here is the tempo and synchronization. Russian forces didn't just capture the town, they followed up by defeating additional Ukrainian formations in adjacent zones like Yasterbine and Kharpovshchina. The losses inflicted on Ukraine, roughly 165 personnel, plus artillery, vehicles, and an EW station, reflect that this wasn't an isolated maneuver. It was part of a deliberate shaping operation, intended to weaken the outer flanks while also collapsing support nodes behind them.
How does this activity in the north compare to what's happening on the western and central fronts? There are reports of heavy losses near Izium and Krasnoarmeysk.
Yes. The West group of forces has been applying mounting pressure from Izium southward, particularly around areas like Andriivka and Drobyshevo. Ukrainian units, including mechanized brigades, have suffered over 250 casualties, and what's striking is the equipment profile. Russia took out not just vehicles and field guns, but also a Western-made MLRS and 2 EW stations. Now, when we shift to the center group's area of operation, places like Krasnoarmeysk, Suvarovo, and Poltavka, the level of Ukrainian attrition is even more severe. Over 400 troops lost, multiple MLRS destroyed, and another 4 artillery systems eliminated. That includes NATO standard platforms like the British Braveheart 155mm howitzer. This tells us that Ukraine is committing high-grade units and Western hardware to hold this line, and they're being overwhelmed. What we're witnessing is not just localized degradation, it's layered dismantling across personnel, firepower, and battlefield coherence.
Let's talk about the southern and eastern axes. Are Russian forces continuing their momentum there as well?
They are, though with slightly different objectives. In the southern group's zone, near towns like Zvanovka and Serebryanka, we're seeing precision pressure. Russian forces engaged Ukrainian mountain assault and National Guard brigades, knocking out an MLRS and several logistical vehicles. These areas aren't just about seizing space, they're about constraining Ukraine's ability to counterattack or shift forces laterally.
And the east group of forces?
In the east, the push continues through Donetsk, Dnipropetrovsk, and Zaporizhia, with engagements reported in Iskra, Podobnoy, and Velikomikhailovka. Here, the east group of forces inflicted around 200 casualties and destroyed several armored vehicles and artillery guns. But the real story is the degradation of rear area support, ammunition depots, EW nodes, and vehicle concentrations. It's a methodical erosion of what Ukraine needs to continue fielding combat-effective brigades.
And the DNEPR front, often quieter, still saw some activity. What was Russia's aim there?
In the Dnipro Group's area, particularly around Slavno and Pervomaiskoye, the focus wasn't so much on force-on-force engagements but on command and control degradation. Russian forces destroyed 4 electronic warfare stations and 4 ammunition depots. Those losses don't make headlines for body count, but they directly affect Ukraine's ability to organize and respond along the southern axis. Think of it as preparatory work, sapping Ukraine's ability to maneuver or defend effectively when a larger thrust eventually comes.
Now let's turn to the strike and air defense picture. What were the key developments?
Russia's long-range precision campaign remained active. Over 149 targets were struck across Ukraine, including a military-industrial complex facility, a UAV assembly plant, and Command Point's 4 long-range drone operations. These aren't just random targets, they're key nodes in Ukraine's ability to fight a modern war. If you disable drone logistics, fuel hubs, and comms infrastructure, you're not just weakening the current force, you're undermining future force projection. On the air defense front, Russian systems intercepted 6 guided aerial bombs, a HIMARS rocket, a Neptune long-range cruise missile, and over 250 fixed-wing UAVs. The consistent shoot-down rate suggests Russia is not only maintaining layered defenses, but also adapting to Ukraine's evolving drone swarm strategies, including higher altitude and electronic warfare, resistant variants.
So as of today, what's the broader takeaway from these coordinated operations?
The broader takeaway is that Russia is continuing to execute a campaign of multi-domain attrition, not through a single decisive thrust, but through simultaneous degradation across every critical front. The liberation of Varachino is one brick in a much larger wall of operational progress. When you look at the daily losses, over 1,200 Ukrainian personnel, multiple Western systems destroyed, depots neutralized, EW stations offline, it becomes clear that Russia's approach is cumulative and systematic. The goal isn't just to take ground, but to degrade Ukraine's ability to hold any ground it still occupies. In military doctrine, we often talk about breaking a force's operational cohesion. That's exactly what this campaign is targeting, and it's doing so across all 6 active sectors.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. Today, more than 100 aid and rights groups, including Save the Children and Doctors Without Borders, issued a joint statement warning of mass starvation spreading across Gaza and demanding that Israel lift aid restrictions. The Health Ministry reports 10 more deaths from malnutrition in Gaza in the past day, bringing the total starvation-related deaths to 111. The UN Secretary General stated that the level of death and destruction in Gaza is without parallel in recent times and that starvation is knocking on every door. Israel continues to conduct military operations in Gaza, with expanded operations in Deir al-Balah. Israel is accused of destroying thousands of civilian buildings through controlled demolitions. Church leaders who visited Gaza reported seeing starving people amid the sound of IDF bombing. The World Health Organization condemned Israeli attacks on its facilities in central Gaza.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive frontline updates from commanders in theater.